Welcome back, guys. In today's video we're going to be going over my budget, my expenses, and my income. Thank you guys so much for joining me on this journey to financial independence. Let's get going. Stay tuned until the end. I'll be going into specifics about how much money I made last year and how much money my wife and I made for the last 20 years. Let me be 100% clear with you. I have no courses to sell. I'm not going to try to convince you to do some crazy strategy that I came up with. In fact, I didn't come up with any of the strategies that I use. I follow what other experts have said and have written about for many, many years. For more than 20 years, even though I've been studying what to do with my money, I don't consider myself an expert. Almost every day or every week I learn something new. And I want to give credit where credit's due. I didn't come up with any of these strategies. Some of the people that I follow that I've learned the most from are Jason Kelly, David Allen Carter, J.L. Collins, who wrote the book Simple Path to Wealth, David Bach, who wrote Automatic Millionaire, Dave Ramsey, and Clark Howard. One of my favorite channels that actually helped me convince me to make this channel is Grounded Life with Rob and Allie. They were able to retire early and travel the world, and I take a lot of inspiration from them. Another great YouTube channel that does similar type of things is called Retirement Travelers with John and Bev. So all of these different inspirations, people that I've taken inspiration from, I will definitely go more into what I've learned from each of them in future videos. With all the experts out there, the so-called experts and the real experts, all of the YouTube channels and thousands of books and articles about how to manage your money, how to make your wealth grow, how to retire early, where do I fit in? Well, I see a lot of people that have already done it. They've already made their money, they've already retired, and they can tell you how they did it, and things may have been different for them. Then I see another set of people who are a bunch of young people, especially young men on YouTube, who are talking about how they're going to do it, and some of them are making tons of money. And well, it'd be easy to retire early if you're making tons of money. I don't make a lot of money, and I consider myself a normal average person, and I wanted to show you that I make mistakes and I want to learn with you along my journey. And so that's where I fit in. You can go with me on the next year. I'm a year out from retirement, and we will definitely see what we need to do to make it happen. All right, so now the fun part of the video. This is what you all came here for. This is where we actually get down into the nitty-gritty, my budget. So I've always done my budget on a weekly basis. It makes more sense to me that way because that's how I get paid. Getting paid every week and dividing up the budget by 4.3, because there's 4.3 weeks per month. That makes it easier for me to break everything down. If you're not good with using a spreadsheet, then you can do this by paper. There's also tons of tools out there. Forgive me for continuing to look down in my notes here. I'm kind of nervous and I want to make sure I remember everything here, but one of the best tools out there, I mean, I've used all the tools. One of the best ones out there, if you are not good with using a spreadsheet like this, is YNAB, or You Need a Budget. Another one out there that's a really good budget tool, an app, is called the Zero-Based Budget by Dave Ramsey. If you go to his website, he's got a free version and a paid version. So after trying out like hundreds of budgeting apps over the years, I always go back to just using a spreadsheet because I like to be able to manipulate all the numbers myself, and I can go back and double check the formulas to make sure that I've got everything right. So, you know, I always just use the free cheap things that I can. So I've got Google Sheets. I don't pay for Microsoft Office. So down here at the bottom, you'll see some of the tabs that I've got. This is my standard weekly budget. So it looks like a lot going on right here. So that's why what we're going to do is just walk through a blank budget, and we'll start from the beginning. So with my regular budget, all of these here go into different pockets. It's important for you to have pockets or buckets or envelopes, whatever you want to call them. When you have all of your money in one pool, one big pile of money, it's kind of hard to know what dollars are supposed to be for what, and every dollar needs a job. So up at the top, I've got my utilities budget, $144.45 per month, or actually per week. That might seem like a lot, but I've actually thrown in all of my regular bills. Here you can see into that. That comes down to a total, once you add all these up, of $144.45. And so that goes here. So I'll show you real quick on how I came up with these numbers. These are just the different things that I pay for on a regular basis. I'm going to just copy this and bring it over here to our blank spreadsheet. And I'll just paste it in here. And I'll go ahead and take out the color for now to make everything the same. So we've got Projection Lab. That's one of the tools I use to do my budget and project out in the future, and we'll go into that tool later on in another video. But basically, the $2.10, where that comes from, this formula up here, it's $109 per year. So I divide that by 52 to get what I need to put into that pocket every week. Going back to the blank page here, so in the cell next to that, you're just going to hit equals 109 divided by 52. Now you don't need that as a number. What you're going to do is take all of the numbers in this column and change it to the currency. That gives you $2.10. I always like to make things bigger than this font to make it easier to see. So hopefully you guys can see that on your screens. $2.10 going into the Projection Lab budget. My cellular, Mindy and I both use, Verizon's plan. They actually own Visible Wireless, so we pay for the annual Visible plan, which is on Verizon towers, but it's much, much cheaper. You might not have even heard of it, but Visible is $3.95 a year divided by 52. So that gives us $7.60 a week. That's for my cellular, and Mindy's is the same way here. So again, that's $3.95 divided by 52. So we'll go back to here, $3.95 divided by 52, get $7.60, and then it's the same for her cell phone. So for water, what I'll do is I'll take our water bills every month, and I add them up, divide it by the last 12 months, and we get our average water bill. So over here, our average water bill is around $70 for the last 12 months per month, divided by 4.3 for the number of weeks in the month, and that gives you $16.28. So $16.28 for the water. Netflix, sorry about that. Netflix, we've got $9.05 per month divided by 4.3, $2.10. electric, same thing with that. I'll do like the last 12 months of electric and divide that up by 12 to get the average electric bill, $34.88. And that's the 150 divided by 4.3 to give us the 34.88. My wife likes her car to look nice, and she's got a nice sports car, which we'll be selling when we move, but for now she likes to get that washed every week, and that's $16.34 to have that washed every week. She has the unlimited plan of $35.13 per month divided by 4.3, and I multiplied that by 2 because I used to have that. I actually need to adjust that now, so I no longer get my car washed. So we'll bring that down. So the car wash is now only $8.17 per week going into that pocket. $8.17. We pay for the AAA membership. So with the AAA membership, that covers us in case we need to get a car jump or a tow or anything like that. I think it's a really good coverage for that. We pay for the two of us combined $117 a year divided by 52, and that's going to give us $225 a week. Amazon Prime, same thing. It's $139 a year divided by 52 weeks, $267 a week. Sam's Club membership, that's, I feel like, where we've been able to save some of the most money over the years, buying in bulk, even though it's just the two of us. We've been able to save a lot of money. When we buy more food than what we need, we put it into the freezer, and it's just fine. Before it goes bad, we eat it. We love eating the leftovers. Sam's Club comes out to $212 a week. Lemonade is our insurance for our apartment and everything that we have in it, and we have like the full coverage, everything. We're full liability and everything on that. That brings it, the full liability is $19.83 per month, which is $461 a week. And then finally we get our auto insurance through AAA. If you live in Florida, you know that insurance here is sky high. It's ridiculous. I'm looking forward to getting rid of that. But we do pay for the full coverage on that. That comes to $45.90 a week, or $1,193.39 every 6 months. So $45.90 for that. So that's all of the things that we pay for on a regular basis, that we're subscribed to. So what I'll do is I'll take the total of all of that, select all of that. So that's what we would need to put into our utilities pocket. So over here, I'm going to make a line item for utilities. And I'll have that equal to the 140.27. So our next line item is going to be our personal expenditures, things like toothpaste, anything like that. It's going to be $50 a week for that. Personal. Then we have, I'm just going to copy and paste the rest of this so that I can quickly go through it with you. Copy, paste. So then we have our gas and food. We spend about $250 a week on gas and food. That includes going out to eat, groceries, and gas for both of us to get to and from work. Our apartment is $24.90 a month divided by 4.3. All of these numbers need to also be in currency. So the little dollar sign up there will get it into the correct format for you. Our car maintenance, we project it to be about $50 a week. We're both trying to fill up our Roth accounts for the year. So on the Roth, we have that $14,000 is $7,000 each to fill up our Roth accounts. Divided by 52 is $269.23 a week. Mindy has her own personal spending budget, and I have mine. And we're currently doing $75 a week for that. And that's just money that we have, no questions asked. She can spend on whatever she wants, or I can spend on whatever I want. That's things for like gifts or travel or whatever we want as individuals. Vacations, we just cut that out of our budget. We used to have that as $200 a week because we were going on so many cruises. But now, because we've actually paid for in full all of our vacations that we're having over the next 12 months. And then after that, we're going to be on a kind of a permanent vacation or travel. So for right now, we just have zero going into that. Healthcare, currently we pay for that out of our paychecks. So currently we have that at zero. But I do have a space holder here where I've estimated with Safety Wing how much it's going to cost us to have insurance at about $43. And that's just a space holder. I'm not going to add that in right now. But when we do leave our jobs, we won't have insurance through our jobs, and we'll probably need about $43 a week to cover our insurance as we travel around. VPN, we don't currently have that, but I'm projecting that to be about $2 a week. But it could be up to about $5 a week. So I'll just put a space holder there for the VPN. And travel, again, we don't currently have that, but once we are nomadic, we might spend $100 a week on travel. So this is our weekly numbers that we need to cover our living expenses. So I'm just gonna get the sum of these numbers. So that's what we need to have to meet our weekly obligations. And if you're wondering what that is, a year, we're going to take that and just multiply it by 52. This is what we need to meet our regular obligations every year. Future me here. If you were watching that last video, I wanted to make a quick edit on that. The AAA insurance, I said $45.90, which is what it should be, and I typed in $49.90. I'm just going to correct that real quick here. There we go. So now we have our weekly expenses, $1,484.57 per week. We also need to know what we make every week in income. I average about $1,273.80 a week. Mindy averages about $1,114.66 per week. Combined, we take home about $2,388.45 per week. That number is, of course, after taxes and benefits. I don't account for those because they're already out of our paycheck, so I just want to know what's coming into our bank account every week. It's $2,388. Now I'd like to talk a little bit about how we plan on being able to retire when our weekly expenses are $1,485 a week, and that brings us to our annual expenses of over $77,000 a year. So using the 4% rule as a general guideline, And I'm not going to go deep into detail about where the 4% rule comes from here. There are plenty of videos online about how that was derived, but I use it as a guideline. So basically the 4% rule says that, you can take out about 4% of your investments every year when you're retired and not run out of money. So the easy way to back into what you need to be able to retire is you take your annual expenses and multiply that by 25. So 77,197 times 25 would come to almost $2 million. And we're nowhere close to that now. So how is it that we think we can retire next year? Well, in retirement, we're not going to need a lot of these things. Everything you see in orange here, like the car wash, Amazon Prime, the insurance, we're not going to need any of those things. So if you take out all of these things in orange, it brings us to the 1244.60. We're also taking out we no longer need the Roth contributions. We no longer need car maintenance because we're going to sell our cars. But then we do have to add in the cost for the VPN, the more frequent travel, and the estimated insurance for health insurance once we no longer have that through our jobs. That brings us to $1,244 a week, or $64,000 a year. The FI number at that with the 4% rule is $1.6 million. Again, we're nowhere close to that. But I'm thinking that when we live abroad, we'll be able to find lower cost for apartment accommodations. So with the lower apartment accommodations, I'm thinking that we can average about $1,500 a month, which is much better than the current $2,500 a month. It's about $1,000 less a month. So then we really only need $52,807 a year, which is $1.3 million. Again, we're not there, so we're not going to be able to fully retire. So the full FIRE is not us. Financial independence, retire early, not going to be us, but we will be financially independent. Mindy plans on working as a travel agent, and she plans on earning at least $500 a week in income, which is about $26,000 a year in income. So if we take the $500 a week out from the $1,015 a week, we only need $515.53 a week. So that gives us an FI number of $670,000. We do currently have more than that. Exactly how much we have, you'll have to check out my next video. I'll go into our net worth and how our investments are divided and what kind of strategies we use with that. Okay, so now that I've gone over my expenses and my income in my budget, I do want to add that as far as this channel goes, if I am able to monetize this channel, that's not part of my budget. If I'm ever able to make any money out of this whatsoever, it's not part of my plans whatsoever. It's just icing on the cake. All of my plans are what I see as fairly conservative, and so I won't be including any future money in this channel as far as what I plan on getting in my budget. If I do earn revenue for this channel, then I'll include that in future videos. Thank you. So if you've stuck around till now, you get the thing you've been waiting for. You get to see what I've been earning this year, last year, and for the last 20 years. So I compiled these numbers. These are directly from tax returns I've had going all the way back to 2005. For my annual income last year, it was $49,255. Mindy's was $67,578. Combined last year, we made $116,833. I averaged for the last 20 years only $47,943. My highest earning year was in 2022. I earned $101,391. As a couple for the last 20 years, we've averaged $93,255. And the total amount that we've earned in the last 20 years is $1.8 million. So as you can see, it's not a lot of money, and we've been doing everything that we can to make it grow. I want to point out one thing in particular here is back in 2016, Mindy had to have some surgery and she was out of work for a while. That's why she only had $11,000 in income that year, and that was the year that we had to file bankruptcy. At that time, we were about $200,000 in debt. Over the next several videos, I'll be showing you how we got out of debt and what we do to make our money grow. So that's it, guys. That's my numbers. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. See you next week.